All right, let's move on then to the team that you were just talking about, pushing the envelope in the Western Conference, LAFC, who've been busy this window and may not be done yet. So far in this summer transfer window, they have brought in obviously Olivier Giroud, the big one. We'd covered him before, so we probably won't cover him too much here. But they also have brought in Lewis O'Brien from Nottingham Forest. So why don't we start? Why don't we cover O'Brien since we kind of already spoke about Giroud, and then we maybe we'll talk about somebody else, but I won't spoil that yet.
Oh, look at
So
you.
what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Lewis O'Brien coming to
Yeah, love
LAFC?
love this move. I thought
Yeah, I know you're a big Lewis
love
O'Brien
this
fan,
move,
so
man. This dude is a baller. When you can make a DC team that's that bad look half decent, you're a baller. And I mean, he came into DC back in what was it, 21 was the year, or was it COVID time? Oh, 23. It was even earlier than that. That's wild. He's only here for 3 months. It felt like he was here forever.
it was just a
Um,
loan. Yeah.
yeah, just a lone move, but that DC team in 23 that
Oh, they missed
finished.
the playoffs.
Yeah, they missed the playoffs. They finished 12th. Can you imagine what they would have been without him? I mean, they would have been rival in Toronto for the spoon, right? His time in DC was again. I think it stands out because you're like, oh wow, like look at this guy who did really well for a really bad team. He only had 1 goal, 1 assist. Like I'm not trying to blow him up as like an absolute game changer, but his work rate, his creativity off the ball, I think it fits in so much better with LAFC than it did with DC, where it was literally him trying to dribble through 4 players and then just give it to Benteke and see what he could do. But in 17 games, just a little bit over 1,500 minutes, a goal and assist. And I know that doesn't jump off the page like, oh, this guy's amazing, and probably why DC didn't bring him back. But LAFC make players just different breed when they play with them here. The only person they haven't made any better was Aaron Long, because I mean, how do you make somebody better when you're already at the top of your game? So the move here, I think it just fits in again with an LAFC side that, again, as we mentioned, pushing the envelope, really trying to be the best at what they can do, and balances that midfield really well. You've got Bogusz in the attacking, midfield. You got Atuesta kind of as a shuttling number 8. You got Ile Sanchez as a true 6, and then Lewis O'Brien can fit in a couple different areas, more attacking than anything else. But if Atuesta were to drop in, you can put O'Brien in and go a little bit farther. Tim Tillman, USMNT national team player, all of those players, and again, it's very clear what LAFC system is: counterattacks. And Bogusz is very good in transition. Bouanga, very good in transition. Giroud, I'd be interested to see how he does in transition, but as just a target player off, so Bouanga can run him behind, have a day, my guy, right? I think O'Brien fits in really well in that transition game. He's expansive. He runs really well off the ball. He gets in behind off, and he's very, very attacking minded. I think he's going to fit in really well with this transition style of play
You know what I hate?
when I'm right.
I hate the fact that we looked at this team in the offseason, have like 12 players on the roster, and now they've built this.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? How did this happen? How did they just magically build this absolute beast of a roster when they were
Somebody
down to like 10 players at some point in the offseason?
somebody walked away from the kitchen and then John Thornton hopped in and cooked.
Oh my
Dude
goodness.
is dude is and we knew this was going to happen, but at this level of cooking, I wasn't ready for. The
I like
Atuesta thing, I was like, I thought the Atuesta thing was gonna be like the peak. Like, oh man, look at this guy. He comes in and brings back one of the old, guys from the early LAFC days. Like, oh, good for him, right? Bang,
Mhm.
here's a really talented Lewis O'Brien. Bang, here's France's top goal scorer in country's history. Bang, here's a possible rumor of getting somebody else that I won't spoil it because I know you want to introduce it. But and you know what's crazy is they really haven't added that much. They've just added the right people at the right position. They haven't added a ton in the back, right? You've got the Jesus Maria, the Aaron Long, the Segura, the Chanot. Those four are kind of holding you down. Ryan Hollingshead is playing wherever he wants, and Sergio Palencia is the only real right back right now. But and knock on wood for the group, the team's been relatively healthy. That's been a big major plus for them because any one of these guys goes down, now your depth is even thinner. But man, that is it's a credit to, again, pushing the envelope with what you want to do. I mean, we saw LAFC go in, win MLS Cup Supporter Shield, and then just turn the roster over and keep pushing to get better. You know, it's not something you see out of all these teams, and I'd absolutely love if this set the standard. And I think for some teams it will. We'll get there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they might be. I mean, you compare them to Columbus and they're thin, but I mean, in fairness, you compare any team in the league to Columbus and they're thin. But
Right.
I think they have the right amount of depth where, yes, they've been fortunate that they've been healthy, but they do have a guy in like each general zone of the field who can step in and be the next guy. Like in the attack, when you've brought in Giroud now, you've got Giroud, you've got Oliveira, Buanga, and Bogusz. You've got four of them. Obviously, not all four of them are going to be able to start. So somebody's going to be able to hop in there if something happens to someone. Same thing in the midfield. You've now got Illy Sanchez, Tim Tillman, Atuesta, and now you brought in Lewis O'Brien who can get in that mix. Even at center back too. Center back is Murillo, Aaron Long, Eddie Segura, Chanel. Like that's a good center back group. Like if somebody goes down, the next guy is going to be able to step in there. So they may not be super deep in terms of like having 4 or 5 guys at every position, but I think they've got the right amount of depth where they'd be all right. Unless they just got absolutely floored by injuries like New England has.
Yeah.
But
And even if they did, you got more people waiting in the wings, it sounds like.
yeah. And one of those people might be another Frenchman joining the party. Antoine Griezmann has had some strong links with LAFC. Obviously, rumors and stuff have been going on with the recent move for Giroud, and obviously they added Lloris in the winter transfer window. And so Griezmann has always been linked with moves to MLS. This is kind of a good situation for him to move into where he's got a couple buddies on a team and a team that is very ambitious and can make these types of moves happen. I'll just ask you, do you think the Griezmann move gets done this window?
This window, no. Next
Okay.
window, yes. End of the season.
So winter
Yeah.
20.
So I think they go without him for this year. And then they come in and get him one more window past.
Do you think somebody moves on in order to bring him in?
No, they don't need to. To my knowledge, they don't need to.
It may not be a need, but do you think in terms of like playing time, they would probably need to? Do you think someone moves on in order to make the playing time to bring in Griezmann? Or
No.
would they just go with a system change and play like a 4-2-3-1 kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I don't think they need to do anything. Like you mentioned, they're one deep at every position. You can go two. Like that's not an illegal thing. Now he's got the flexibility to play in a lot of areas, right? He can play off of the main striker. He can play out wide every once in a while. He can play as a main number 9, and it all varies in that sense. So you know what I would most likely assume happens is you're going to have Giroud as your 9, Griezmann just off him, Bouanga on one side, and then a rotation of Oliveira, Bogusz on the right side. And that would be kind of the setup. And then you've got Tillman, Atuesta, O'Brien rotating and Sanchez rotating in the group behind them, and then your usual back 4. I believe that FIFA listed their top rated players coming into FIFA 25 or EFC 25, whatever it may be. I think he is the 10th highest rated player. I'm not saying it's the end all be all of what's going on here, but to get anybody of that level into the league right now is massive. And you talk a lot about retirement and who do you open the door up for being a longer or a later on signing, right? And I think this is one of the guys that you do that for.
I mean, this team's going to be disgusting if they bring in Griezmann on the top of all of this. Like that's
it feels like the Bale move, but long term, right?
Yeah, a little bit more long term than that. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a good comparison for it.
That's the vibe.
I don't think we need to answer the question of what direction these moves are pushing LAFC in.
Well, I think it's a super interesting thought where teams like Columbus and LAFC, what are they pushing for long term? And it feels like both of those sides are not only pushing for MLS Cup, Supporter Shield, but also to be better in international competitions, to be able to go up against the Liga MX sides and win. It feels like that push is now coming more and more frequently, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of for that one, we'll have to wait and see what happens for CONCACAF Champions League when all those pieces kind of come together and next in 2025. But in terms of this season, I think LAFC's bolstered well for a strong playoff push and supporter shield push. But one team that definitely needs to make a lot of moves to make a push late in this season and has the tools to do it is Atlanta.